There's nothing more annoying than when you wait a whole week for the latest episode of a show you're dying to watch, and then the episode ends up being basically a filler episode. And that's how I feel about episode 5 for The Last of Us Season 2. We're only 2 episodes away now, and this to me felt like the most padded out so far by far. It was only till near the end of the episode where it finally started going back to the main story, and then we had an opening scene with the new character Panaran, character that they created for this season, but she feels completely unnecessary, almost like Gale. Gale doesn't really feel all that necessary either. She's just an expository tool, telling everyone what they need to know. Even this episode, way too much just time wasted. I'm now seeing that perhaps the choice where they decided to go with Ellie and Dina once Ellie finds out she's pregnant. In the games, she actually gets mad at Dina, but in this version on the show, they essentially were like, we're gonna have a baby, which I still thought was very bizarre. Like, immediately after Dina tells her that she's pregnant, Ellie is immediately like, I'm gonna be a daddy. Like, you're just assuming, or even Dina assumed that she would be down for it. That was a really bizarre moment. I can see where having them do that was maybe a bad idea, because then suddenly there's this weird tension. There's a scene where Dina is breaking down on a map and showing how she's able to do some good navigation, and Ellie's there. Dina says something about her helping out, and Ellie's all, what are you calling me, stupid? And is Ellie already starting to become a simp for Dina only a day after admitted their feelings or whatever? Ellie is almost already kind of being like a simp, like the jealous guy, and Dina's being the whole more relaxed. But this episode was so all over the place, I felt. Barely anything really happened for the first while, and I was legitimately getting bored. I was kind of rare to be bored a brand new episode. I mean, I love this show and I can't wait for every single episode, but I mean, 5 minutes in, I was kind of already getting that feeling of like, oh man, this is going to be a filler episode. They're already starting to pad out the season. There's 2 left, so I'm wondering if they're even going to show Abby at all until the very end of this whole season. I almost feel like they might, unless it's a flashback. At the beginning of next season, either at the end of this season or the beginning of next, we switch over to Abby. Though maybe I'm saying too much when I say switch over. I mean, you're watching this show, you know that there's both 2 people on a journey here, on a journey of revenge. Although Abby did that whole, the bad guy walking away before confirming the good guy's dead. Not one of those weak things they did in the games as well. Why would they leave him there? They could easily just kill him. They don't really make hardly any progress. There's like a whole other moment again where Guitar Store they're in, it has a whole other theater stage with stuff set up. When I saw that, I was actually like, oh man, are they seriously gonna have like a 5 minute music moment here, just like they did in last episode? It was just a complete waste of any time. It took like a couple minutes, and it was just her walking up to the stage, taking a guitar, almost kind of playing it, and then that was it. This is where I'm seeing that I don't think having them kind of quote unquote start dating in the middle of this whole thing, it's really the only other way to put it. They're essentially in the middle of this crazy situation where Dina finds out she's pregnant, though I guess maybe I don't know if it's been 3 months since she's found out. Ellie was out in the hospital for 3 months. Somewhere in between that time, I guess. But the whole new dynamic between them, it doesn't feel like a good one. I mean, Ellie's immediately already been like too cautious of like, all right, you don't need to come with me at all, or you can come with me if you want. But then there's just these really long pauses where I swear they wasted almost 10 minutes of time in a short 45 minute episode. It was already a short episode. I was disappointed by already to wait a whole week just to get a 45 minute when average they've been 55. I don't think any of them have reached a full hour yet. This was the most disappointing episode in general, like not just this season, but in the entire series. It just felt like it was giant filler, and it wasn't until near the end Ellie magically somehow ends up in the hospital or the base where Nora is staying. The Dina has been tracking the radio a lot as she's working on the maps, and the wolves talk on the radio a lot, kind of stupidly, and you'd almost think that maybe they're doing it as a trap. It seems like they just openly talk on the radios because the Seraphites, they only think they're fighting the Seraphites, and the Seraphites have zero technology, so they would not hear them on the radio. Dina hears them because they managed to snag a radio last episode, so they're hearing about everyone, and they're kind of able to figure figure out who is who, as in who's on the team, Nora being the one that we see later in the episode. Sure, there's almost nothing to even really say. It was pretty slow at the very beginning, and there's these moments between Dina and Ellie where it's almost already getting awkward because Ellie's probably way more awkward than Dina is in relationships, and there's even just these moments where Ellie's acting almost like a goofball around her, like a jealous boyfriend or something, even though they're still doing this date one, day two thing, saying it's day two. So I don't know if the next two episodes, day 3 and 4, something they kind of did in the games. I'm still not seeing the purpose for it at all right now in the show. But there was just so many slow moments. Again, the opening when we meet Hanaran, she's talking to a lady about her son dying or something, and then that's it. I thought maybe they had this moment just to show her later on in the episode, but no. So they opened the show with this little interaction, then nothing from them at all. This was such a filler episode. I mean, there were so many moments where they were being really slow, and the camera was moving slowly. Ellie was taking forever to speak, and I'm wondering, okay, are they even dragging out the dialogue? Because this really felt like about 10 minutes, 15 minutes of actual story and added a whole other half an hour to it, because it didn't really get all that interesting till the end. But then I got way more interesting and exciting, and once Ellie gets into this facility, which I kind of missed how she actually got in there after. It almost seemed like she was just trying to escape from these dogs and accidentally got inside. That's what it seemed like, but then all of a sudden she finds Nora and knows what her name is, and she's being completely calm. So did I miss something earlier where Dina and her were like, all right, I know where Nora is, let's take her out? Or did she stumble upon this area but finds Nora and it's just like, all right, there's Nora, I'm gonna kill her? But the episode ends, and we're not sure if Ellie killed her. But the lead up to that moment was clearly using inspirations from some of my favorite movies. Like, I swear there was a moment where it was just like Die Hard. Then it turned into be just like Aliens. It especially felt very Die Hardy in the moment where she's in this elevator. She's chasing after Nora, and Nora is getting away, but Ellie is shooting at her. She escapes down an elevator, and then there's a small little moment that reminds me of the elevator shaft moment from Die Hard. And then Ellie finds herself in a room with pillars of spores everywhere, and there's people like attached to the wall full of spores, and very clearly reminiscent of Aliens. To me, were pretty obvious. I don't know about other people, but to me, I was immediately like, yeah, that's Die Hard, that's Aliens. Throwing in these little tiny homages that I was picking up on immediately. But it's a shame that it was only the last 5-10 minutes of the entire episode where it got interesting. Ellie ends up cornering Nora. As Ellie is immune, she's also immune to the spores. When you're in around all these spores, the air is just full of the spore dust, but Ellie can breathe it in. Nora is sitting here at the end of this hall, coughing. Ellie approaches her with the gun raised. I thought maybe she was going to shoot her, and then Nora tries to talk her down with her whole, I was there, I saw it, I still hear screams at night. And it seemed like it was a pretty glaring moment of trying to distract her, but didn't really work. Ellie decides to not use the gun and picks up a pipe and starts wailing on her. We don't actually see if she finishes the job or not. The screen cuts away as she's hammering away pretty hard with the pipe. And it was a pretty brutal scene. They didn't show if she actually finished her off. We're wondering, I guess they're leaving us in terms of, all right, is Ellie finally gone off the deep end? Because there is one very specific moment, again, that reminded me of season 1. There's a moment where Ellie sees firsthand how brutally cold Joel can be when he attacks that guard when they're trying to escape and just punches them over and over and over, and Ellie is kind of looking at it and she's enjoying it in a way. And then now here we are, the cycle of violence has come full circle in a way where Ellie is kind of just kneeling down and staring at Nora as Nora is kind of choking her last breath, but the way she stares at her with her eyes was very reminiscent of Joel and how vicious he's become, and she's become that way now. She was pretty brutal with that pipe, but we don't know if she finished Nora off or not. Next episode, which they already set up to be a flashback, so now I think the second last episode is going to be probably all flashback. I can already see the next episode. It's going to be another filler episode. So there we go. We have 2 in a row because I'm pretty 100% sure that then episode 6 will be 100% flashback of Joel and Ellie, because the episode 5, they suddenly just flash to Ellie waking up in the past. And it happened at a weird moment where, in the middle of Ellie beating on Nora, they just cut to Ellie waking up. Joel's at the bedroom door and he's like, "Hello, kiddo." So I already can tell the next episode will be the one where they go to that space museum, because I know for a fact that this is going to be in this show. There was a big moment for them with Joel and Ellie. So we're going to see that. Next episode 6 will either be an entire Joel and Ellie flashback or half a flashback, but again, it's going to be basically another filler. I mean, they didn't need to make it a filler episode. They could still mix it in somehow, but I have a feeling this entire episode 6 will just be a flashback with Joel and Ellie, and that's already annoying. Meaning that the very last episode of this season, I think, will be a long episode. It could be an hour and a half. Essentially, that means that there's only one episode left in the season of Last of Us that's going to be actually pushing the story forward. I feel like it'll just end with Ellie somewhere in the middle of going after Abby, or they're going to switch from Ellie to Abby somehow. It does feel like they're padding out this season because they wanted to turn Game 2 into 2 seasons. But I'm not able to see how they can go past 3 seasons, considering there has been some talk that they could go beyond 3. How can they do that when there's no third game? Are they going to pull a Game of Thrones and just start making up stories? I really can't see that. I think going past 3 seasons would be dumb. From my understanding, that it's only been kind of a rumor there's going to be a Last of Us 3 game. I don't think it's been 100% confirmed, but I could be wrong on that. So this episode started out weak. Essentially a shame that pretty much half an hour of this was throwaway. Already looking at the preview, which already dropped for next episode, I can see that it's pretty much probably just going to be all Joel and Ellie. So meaning there's only one episode left in season 2 that's going to be like an actual useful episode. How it will end, what exactly will happen. Definitely the weakest of the season so far. Perhaps the weakest of the entire series. Completely throw away hardly anything in it that we need to know. And there's a one scene where Dina is just straight up saying out loud the theme of the entire show, where she's straight up just saying, like, talking about how her backstory of, we finally learn a bit more about her and how shot a guy when she was 8 years old, and she was talking about how her family is dead. She ended up shooting a guy, but she goes on this small little rant about vengeance, and if somebody kills someone, then I go after them. And then essentially she's just saying out loud the theme and Ellie's journey and what's happening, and it was just so heavy-handed. It actually was written by Craig Mazin. He always writes the best episodes, so this one was very weak on his part, and I'm actually kind of disappointed that I waited a whole week and now I have to wait another week. Essentially I have to wait 2 weeks, because next week pretty much guaranteed to be entirely flashback. So then episode 7, which will be May 25th, I believe. And then that's it. And then that'll end with cliffhanger. And we'll probably have another 2 years. So think about that, people. We're not going to get another useful episode after the end of this season until the beginning season 3. So that means when episode 7 hits and that's over, since we just wasted an entire episode learning nothing other than the fact that Ellie's already turning into a whiny little bitch. When it comes to Dina, I mean. There we go. 2 episodes left in season 2, and it's kind of slowing down for me. It started strong. This one here was kind of even last episode was still great. It felt like it was waning near the end, and then this happens, and it's pretty much almost all just filler. That's a shame. 2 more episodes to go. Don't forget to like and subscribe and to comment and let me know about what your thoughts on details on this episode, whatever it is that I'm saying, because as you always know, cautious and precise with how I plan these reviews out. I don't immediately just talk into the mic as soon as the episode is over. I would never do something like that. But one thing that I do want you to do is when you hit the subscribe button, don't forget to hit the little bell button. Then after you remember to do that, don't forget to keep gaming.